Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome back your host, Roth, back to the stage.
All right, welcome back, everyone. And this is the part of our event that we actually record for all of the W Club members who can't be here with us in person. So hi to all of you W Club members. You want to say hi to them? Hi, W Club members. But we're thrilled to have, obviously, all of you. And one of the things that we did earlier in the year is we asked you guys to submit your most burning questions for the design team. So we have compiled them together so that you can hear directly from the designers what they're up to and what's ahead. So let's bring them to the stage to give a big round of applause first for Alain Tremblay, Vaughn Sawyers, Stoeckel, Jessy, Ayala, and David Buttry.
We'll go ahead and
Are you guys gonna all fit? Squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in,
we'll
squeeze in.
squeeze in.
Squeeze on in. And I would just like to point out that they put Alain next to me so that I could squeeze him if he goes off script. All right, so we're gonna start out with talking a little bit about the design process. I know it's sort of a curiosity of everyone about how these dolls come to be. So Jessy, let's start with you. How does the team decide about the theme of the new collection? What's sort of your process? What do you go through?
I think it just happens organically, at least for me. It's just whatever. Can you hear me?
Bring it up.
Bring it up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So what I was saying is that for me, it just happens organically, whatever mood that I'm in, and just little snippets in what I'm seeing in my life and everything like that. I just compile them, and I guess that's, for me, that's how it happens.
What about you, Chris? How's your process work?
Well, I start out, a lot of times I start out with fabrics, or I try to anyway, or at least figure out what types of fabrics and colors that I want to do, and then I build it from there. Really.
David, what process do you go through with Poppy?
It's like whatever mood or movie I've watched or something I've watched recently, or fashion magazine I've flipped through. You know, there's lots of different things.
Fashion movies. You watch as fashion movies.
I do watch fashion movies a lot, yeah. So,
Well, listen, you got to live it, right, in order to put it out in the
You
world.
watch as fashion movies.
yeah, and a lot of fashion TV on YouTube and a lot of history things on fashion. So all that stuff inspires me, and I watch a lot of old movies and television shows, and so that all impacts everything I do. So.
And so once the sort of inspirations start, is there a committee? How do you guys kind of take things through?
Well, for me, if I come up with a concept, and then I'll usually kind of run it by everybody and say, hey, what if, I'll call Vaughn or something, and I'll go, oh, by the way, after we talk about something else that's totally off
Off the wall.
off the roll, whatever. And then I'll be like, hey, I have this idea that, I'm going to put Poppy, and she's going to be in the spy collection again, and, and then I'll talk to Alain about it, and he'll say, oh, we should totally do this, and I want to make this for it, and I want to make this for it, and so everything kind of builds upon one another, so Vaughn has his input, and everyone has suggestions for stuff.
So it's a collaborative process, but not a committee where everyone has to vote, people don't wear robes and wigs or anything like that.
We have a lot of flexibility in what we do, so if I want to do something, I'll do it the way I want to, but we'll talk about each other, and sometimes people have suggestions to make things better, or things that we can edit out to make it stronger. So.
And Vaughn, also on the production side, sometimes things aren't feasible too, right?
Yeah, there are times that, changes need to be made based on costing or fabric availability. Like, I've told you guys many, many times before that, I'll go to China, I'll source the fabric, send it to the guys, then, everybody does their free-for-all, like, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then we send it off to the factory, and it's like, sorry, out of stock, sorry, out of stock, can you pick a replacement? Okay. Sometimes we pick a replacement, and then it's like, yeah, that's out of stock too. Try again. And then we'll get pissed off, and we'll be like, you know what? You find something and send it to us.
And sometimes Jessy sees the fabric and then goes, girl, and texts David, right?
Jessy gets his way.
I was like, I need that in my collection, so.
What about Jason? Does he have any input in terms of the initial decisions or the final decisions?
With FR, he's still basically like the creative, component behind FR, but there's going to be a slight shift with that for next year.
Okay. So I think that probably is helpful too in terms of the convention dolls, both this year and going forward.
Yeah.
How do you guys choose those convention dolls?
Generally, Jason chooses like, he'll be like, I want this doll in that dress, that doll in that dress, that doll in that dress, and he'll say, okay, here's all the jewelry that I like, can you make all of this, and then I'll choose, what I want to go wear. It's essentially the same thing with hairstyles. He'll send me like a PDF with, a bunch of different hairstyles, and he'll be like, okay, have the factory, make all these hairstyles, and once I see them, I'll tell you like, okay, I want that girl in this hairstyle with that hair color, and that's
It's like dress
how.
up.
Yeah.
Place dress up.
But that's going to shift, right?
Yeah, that will shift next year, but we'll talk about more about
Do you want to talk
that
about
later.
that later, or you want to talk about it now? Alain?
Talk about it now.
We can talk about it now.
Okay.
You guys want to know about it now?
You want to know about it now, right?
All right, so Vaughn, why don't you talk about the changes for next year?
So next year, basically, Jason is going to be dealing with the Saturday night event, and it'll be more based on like his Jason Wu line. So, we've seen some of the miniatures of his dolls already, so that's going to be more of Jason's focus going forward. So Jessy will be doing more of the FR, and Jason will be focusing more on his Jason Wu.
You guys like that? You want to see Jessy do more of the FR convention collections?
So to make that clear, like Jessy will be doing the Fashion Royalty and the New Face collection next year for convention. So.
And then obviously yesterday, David, you told us that you're going to be doing Poppy, so it's going to be mixed up a little, but super exciting.
Yeah. Somehow after yesterday's meeting, I saw last night online where people were saying that next year's convention was going to be all Poppy, and that's not the case.
Sorry to the Poppy fans out there.
If you see people posting that, tell them that's not the case. It's not.
We actually have a really great plan for next year for the convention. It's something we've never done before. It's going to be very, very impressive.
And
We'll
we'll
be
announce it
announcing it tonight, actually.
Oh, tonight, yes, that's right.
where we're going. Please, there's no tomorrow to this convention.
Listen, I'm lucky I know where I am right now. And
Yes, but we'll be announcing where we're going tonight. But like, every brand will be there next year at the convention, like we always do. But we're doing a little bit more for Poppy. But it's not a Poppy convention in any way.
yeah. All right, so I think the one of the biggest questions on collectors' minds, and we got a ton of questions about this, no surprise to any of you, is about the timing of the releases this year. Obviously, the spacing of the dolls, the way that we release the information. Why were so many released at the same time? Why were they so crushed together? Vaughn, you want to kick us off there?
Yeah, that is basically a China factory production issue. We did start designing our things a lot earlier than we normally do.
A year ago.
Like last year.
Yeah.
And somehow they still ended up with a delay somewhere along the way. They're claiming that, oh, well, because of the fabric issue, and then it was like, oh, well, you guys didn't approve the hairstyle samples that we gave you. And it was like, well, they were wrong. So, yeah.
Yeah, it comes down to the fact that we want the best for you,
Yeah.
and if we're not happy with it, then we're not going to release it. So we try our best to make you happy and ourselves happy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're collectors. All of us are collectors, and we wouldn't want to receive it that way. And so we strive to make sure that everyone is happy,
Yeah.
and especially ourselves. And so we don't let anybody down.
Yeah, and just to give sort of a macro issue, I mean, I don't know how many of you sort of follow macroeconomics and what's going on globally, but China's going through a lot of changes right now. First of all, it's no longer really an emerging market, so things are getting more expensive. They're transitioning from the kind of manufacturing that we do to high-tech manufacturing, so that causes a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
And when you have people who turn over, that means they have to be retrained. And with the quality level that you all have, it's taking more rounds of samples to get what you want,
Yeah.
and that adds up to delays.
Realistically, also, one thing you guys have to understand, we've been at it for 20 years, but right now we're hitting a point where things that we think they know how to do because they've done it in the past, all of a sudden they don't know how to do it anymore because of the shift Carol just mentioned. So Vaughn is spending a lot of time, like, he needs to get kudos because he's been like our sort of like, no, you did it, you're gonna do it again. Figure it out.
Bad cop, Vaughn.
It's like there are times where, I'll tell them like, oh, we need a, body wave or something, and they'll be like, what? And I have to like go to our website and pull up a picture and be like, you see this? You did this 3 years ago. I need this again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so definitely like turnover rate in China right now is very high, especially after Chinese New Year, because a lot of employees don't come back to work after Chinese New Year, so then we have to hire new people and then train new people, and then the training process takes a while, especially with hairstyling, face paints. That was our biggest delay this year, were the new people that we have, training them to do the face paints, but then training them to do them properly, was a big thing. And then there was also an issue of, well, they thought it was good enough, and it's like, well, your good enough is not my good enough.
And it certainly isn't the collector's good enough. We know
actually,
that for sure.
I have to add to this because, I do patient care with my assistant Veronique in Montreal, and yes, she does exist. It's not me. She really is French.
And her name really is Veronique.
And she really is French. Right. So, but it's funny because I see some of the stuff that you guys are returning, and in 95% of the case, I agree that yes, it's defective. There's also a lot of, I think there's a level of perfection that's expected sometimes that I can see why the factory in their mind, it's like, yeah, that's good enough. Because, there's another company out there that puts out product that's good enough.
Oh, shade at the W Club events.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Not to mention any names.
Exactly. But it starts with a B, star. Yeah. But, we're going to strive to keep going, but we do appreciate your patience. This year was exceptional. We are going to China, the 5 of us, like the owners of Integrity. We're leaving in 2 weeks, so yeah, Darth Vader is coming to the Death Star to strangle a few people.
The Death March.
And the team also had a full meeting several months ago, and have already submitted things for next year. I mean, so they're really, really ahead of the game and doing everything they can to change the spacing. I know some of you guys think that we shifted the club like for fun, but we shifted the club because of production, and we wanted to make sure that with the changes in production that you got a full year, we were able to deliver on everything. So that's part of the reason over time when we started in January and then we moved to February, now we're kind of starting in March and going March to February. That's part of the reason, just because we wanted to make sure we can give you guys a full year of what you're paying for.
So realistically, there's not 2 months left of W Club, there's 3.5 months left of W Club.
At this point, I can't do the
Something
math on
like
how many
that,
months
yeah.
there are left, but we do
So-
have a lot of products
And we still
left.
have some surprises in store. It's not
Yes,
over.
Right. And I will say, in terms of the releases, sometimes people are like, oh, well, why can't they do it this way? Or why can't they show the prototype and then produce the collection? Trust me, this stuff has all been thought about here. Like, if you guys have thought about it, it has been discussed at least 5 times amongst ourselves. Very rarely are you coming up with something where we're like, huh, yeah, we didn't really think about that.
Or my favorite, oh my God, what are they doing? It's been months since we've seen a new doll. That's my favorite. When we've just shipped like 5 in a row. Like,
No, but to be fair, these things are thought through, and just in terms of the way that the production is done when the prototype comes out and when they have to do production, and then also making sure that stuff is still being produced, so there can't be a big lag. Because then then everybody forgets how to do everything.
Yeah.
So
Right.
everything is being thoughtful. Everyone here knows this year was challenging in terms of releases. Takeaway here, everyone's working on it, and fingers crossed that it will be next year. We'll kind of try and set that ship back straight
Yeah, like
again.
currently we have internal deadline for all of next year's convention items. Our deadline to submit is like December 30th. So that just shows like the amount of lead time that, you know, we're working with. And like that's, when I say December 30th, that's not just the design, that's like for first sample to be done. So
For
that, you know,
convention.
I start,
Yeah.
on, I
Convention
start on
next
convention as soon as I get home. So I'm starting
Yeah.
Style Lab like Tuesday. So
yeah, so.
No rest for the weary.
Absolutely not.
Yes. All right, so I feel like we've answered those questions. So let's get back into some of the decision making. So we got a few questions about the character sculpts. Why do you keep making changes, and why do the names change back and forth, and what's going on with that?
Jessy just likes it that way.
No, that's not me. I did do that with Alain, but I just wanted to showcase that sculpt in a different way. And to me, Vanessa 1.0 is Vanessa, and as you know, she was Vanessa 2.0, and so I just made that. And like, obviously family resemblance, so I just made her a sister.
Yeah, and I think that's another place where the club members basically said, hey, we really like the sculpt, but it's just not Vanessa. We're just not feeling it. We don't want it to be Vanessa, but we'd really like it if it were somebody else. Yeah. So that's where you guys took that feedback and made her Vaughn.
Yeah.
Any other sculpts that we need to be thinking about or worried about, Vaughn?
Colette.
Jessy?
Colette. I did that with Colette as well, but that's just, there's people that like the original Colette, and so I wanted to use that as well, but that's not to say that.
All right, so but going forward, are you going to be changing characters and sculpts, or what are you doing going forward?
I think there will always be making changes. I mean, that's how you keep things fresh and new. Like, yes, we do understand that, you know, there are certain sculpts that collectors, you know, have an affinity for, like Agnes, for example. So Agnes will probably never change, but some of the others,
Never change, Agnes.
you know,
Never
I
change.
can't make any guarantees that they won't, but definitely, I think also there are certain older sculpts that might be a little bit more cartoony, and you know, the current sculpts we're doing have a little more realism to them, so there are going to be some sculpts that are probably going to be, you know, refreshed, just so that they have that same level of realism that the newer sculpts have.
And are you going to keep the names, or are they going to become new names?
It depends. It just depends,
Okay.
you know, on.
I think
Well, I
also
ran
like
into that
we've been
with
having like
Luxe.
flexibility. If like something's like a 1.0 or a 2.0 or 3.0, depending on the line, depending on
Yeah.
what we feel, then we could go back and visit like 1.0 as opposed to 2.0 or
Yeah.
whatever, kind of like Jesse's been doing with the Colette or whatever.
Right.
So.
Well, it's a good segue into another question. So, the Faces of Adele, which was a W Club exclusive that we worked we worked for a long time on. Jessy did a phenomenal job. Did you guys like Faces of Adele gift set? That was a gift set where we were able to showcase different sculpts through time. Is that something that any of you would consider doing again?
I've thought about it, yes, it's a possibility.
Thought about it? That's sort of floating around in your head
Yeah.
somewhere. Is that something you guys want?
I want a box with 52 heads of Agnes in it. And we're going to call it the many moods of Agnes.
The multiple personalities of Agnes. So let's switch things up and talk a little bit about collaborations. Obviously, we've done some different licenses and different collaborations. We've got people asking about collaborations with famous designers, Galliano, Chanel, Louis Vuitton. You know, what's sort of the take on collaborations, and what do you think might happen going forward? David, you want to take that?
Well, I think it's certainly a possibility that, I mean, we would love to have more collaborations, and it just has to be the right one. And I think we've learned from the past, like things we've done that has worked well, things that haven't worked as well. And so we take that into consideration and try to, as a group, try to decide what will be a good fit. So sometimes that just takes a little time, but I think we're going to probably do some of that in the future, though.
Yeah, and Alain, obviously, you know, we work on a lot of licenses. One of the things that we didn't want to do this year with the production issue was throw something else into the mix. But you know, as that gets resolved, I think that opens it up for additional
Absolutely, yeah.
licenses.
The issue with licenses is that you're adding one more element to our little team, which is called the licensor. And they want results, they want deadlines, which they should get, realistically, but it's not always realistic. And also there's all kinds of other factors too. If we're doing, let's say, a TV show, it's very feeble, like it's fickle, like it won't last very long. Like if you don't hit the nail on the head the minute the show, 5 minutes later, nobody was interested in that show anymore.
For example, the American Horror Story, when we did them, it was the approval process of getting the sculpts approved took forever. Like going
Literally forever, yes.
Back and forth for every single actress that we worked with. Jessica Lange, it was like, we did the sculpt, it was okay, and then they came back and they were like, yeah, no, it's not okay, you need to redo it.
I mean, how many times did that sculpt get redone?
Way too many
3,
times.
well, like 3 times completely redone from scratch.
And the paint process afterwards.
Yes.
And then Emma Roberts, it was back and forth, and like they were like, oh no, her face needs to be fuller here, and this and that, and that. Farmiga, like
All of them.
yeah,
Taysa,
and like
yeah.
every single one of them, it was like, oh gosh.
I will say that I know I've read some things on the boards, like, because we had mentioned last year that we were going to take a break from doing license. And then the RuPaul came out, and then people were wondering why RuPaul came out, because we had said we're taking license. But we already had that sculpt already, so that was a project that wasn't as difficult for us to achieve. So it was a much quicker process to do.
Yeah, and it was sort of an extension of an existing license. It was just, okay, yeah, we have all the
Yeah, we had
licensing in place.
all the
We're just
material
gonna
already, yeah.
continue with that. So another question that came from one of our members is about our event doll. So obviously we try and do a reveal event. We always do a special item for the W Club members, and we do Agnes very often as the event doll. Any plans to change that, or any sort of feedback as to why that is, Alain?
Well, you know, we started Agnes, the first time she came out was at the 2006 convention, correct?
Which, by the way, we'll mention that everybody hated
her.
Agnes
Everybody
when she first
hated
came
her.
out,
I-
said she was mean and awful and hated her, and we never wanted to see her
I distinctly
again.
remember some of you pulling me aside at the 2006 convention. How dare you? How dare you? And I'm like, well, how dare I put a great product out there? Anyway, and then
Looks like a Nazi.
we heard it all.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. And then it's funny because, you know, it's one of those cases that I hate to say like the weight of the many outweighs the needs of the few, but people, you all love Agnes. Just say it. You
How many of you
Agnes.
love
How many of
Agnes?
you love Agnes?
Yeah. And by the way, we don't need the round of applause. We see all of the numbers for production, so the data speaks louder than the
Exactly.
claps
So
do.
it's you know, we always change things up. You know, it doesn't mean that we're going to stop, but realistically, Agnes is an IT Direct / W Club exclusive. She is the one character that dealers have never gotten. So she's either exclusive to the convention or to us online. That's the way she's been designed, and that's the way we're keeping her. So.
And I will say too, you know, I weigh in with your feedback in terms of what sculpts you guys are interested in, and spend a lot of times with the different designers. Now, obviously, spending a lot of time with Jessy on New Face and FR, and you know, it's a challenge because some of you want new things, but at the same time, some of you want the favorites, and so when we're looking at the club exclusive, we're trying to please as many people as possible, which is why more of the favorites end up as the W Club exclusives. But the other feedback gets put in to the main line. So sometimes we're saying, Jessy was thinking of maybe doing a character for the club, and we say, well, let's move that to the mainline character and do this other character as a club doll, just in terms of trying to please as many people as once, especially since those dolls are made to order. So we kind of take that feedback into account.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that, Jessy? Or?
No, I mean, you pretty much said
Okay.
it. Like,
All right, so let's move on and talk about what's ahead. You guys want to get a little insight into what the designers are thinking about for next year? All right, Chris, let's start with you and
Okay.
East 59th. So what's next year shaping up to look
Well,
like?
We've got a couple of fun things coming up soon. One of the characters is going to have a big event happen in her
Ooh, about
life.
mitzvah?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
No, Briss.
But because this event is happening, one of her old friends is flying back to the U.S. from living abroad for a couple years, so we have a new friend coming along.
Ooh, you guys like new friends?
Yeah, I hope.
Do you want to maybe, can we maybe get a sneak
Would you like to see
peek
a little
of the new
paparazzi
friends?
shot? I think they got one at the airport.
Okay, so this is for everyone in the room and everybody who's watching on the stream later. This is not a shareable picture, so you guys
No.
can keep talk about it amongst the W Club, but nowhere outside of the W Club. All right. So should we move ahead?
Let's
There's going to
show
be a second here. And what do you want to tell us about this?
Well, let's see. What can I tell you that won't give it away too much? It will be the first, and I'm very excited about this, first African-American character in the line.
So those of you who've been asking about diversity in East 59,
Yeah,
it's coming.
something that I find really important, and I'm really happy with it. It's a brand new sculpt, so
So stay tuned.
stay tuned.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us about next year?
Next year I'm going to be building on my wardrobe concept, some mix and match, some lovely fabrics.
All right. Looking forward to it. All right, David, so let's talk a little bit about Poppy. And we got to chat a little yesterday. We got a few more questions for you. Sure. Before we get into some things that we have ahead, questions from the club members. Will Poppy ever leave her current era and try more modern styles?
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Well, I think, let's say, like in the Style Lab, as you saw, that was a modern version of Poppy. So if we do something, it'll probably be like convention related or W Club related. But for the most part, like 99.9% of the, well, 98% of the time, I'll probably, keep her in their time frame, which for those, some people don't know because they don't always come to convention. So, and I forget that not everyone hears what I say every year. But, Poppy's era is from around 1962 to 1972. That's basically around the time frame that I have her set in my mind. So I like to keep her in that time frame unless there's something, there's no time travel machine in Poppy's world yet. So. But if there can be a time where we have like a little more play factor with, let's say, the Style Lab as the Build-A-Doll was Poppy as a little surprise. So it's that kind of thing where I would put that, but for the most part, I won't be doing a modern Poppy.
Okay.
Yeah. But all of you make her modern anyway, so a lot of you do, so you don't really need me to do that, but, I understand the need, but, have that playtime to yourselves.
So now that there is a new body available with the Monarchs that some of us saw yesterday,
Yeah.
will Poppy Parker get a new boyfriend? And if so, will it be a updated Chip, or is she going to move on to somebody else?
Well, I'm not really sure about Poppy's dating habits right now. Chip will probably make a return. I don't know if he will be her only love interest in the future, though.
Oh,
So-
Poppy, hey.
Yeah. So,
Does Chip know this, by the way?
well,
He will
he
eventually.
he comes from a very wealthy family, but he can't have everything.
Well.
So there's no plans to move to the new Monarch body. I will probably keep all male dolls in the Poppy collection, and in the industry collection, they'll all stay on the current home body.
Okay. So we'll get that nice variety between the Monarch and then between
Right.
New Face, Industry, and Poppy. Okay. And then we had another great question from one of our club members. So Poppy Parker is obviously this fashion icon of, exactly as you said, early 60s to early 70s. So someone's paying attention, David.
Okay, thank you.
And her granddaughter, Tula Belle True, is a modern fashion icon. But then it means that we've got a Poppy's daughter / Tula Belle's mom that we haven't seen.
The missing
Will
link.
we ever get to meet the missing link?
I'm not going to rule that out. I haven't really given too much thought about it, but I do know they would be roughly about my age, which is depressing because I don't really think about that. 'Cause in my mind, I'm like 22, but I know I'm not. I'm 48. But they would be around the age of, let's say, the supermodels that were in the 90s.
Ooh.
So you never know. So,
Okay.
because I'm like the same age as, Kate, Linda.
You remind me of Linda.
I know.
That's your long legs.
All right,
That's
so
it.
as I mentioned, we have a lot of club dolls, club exclusives still to be released, and certainly poppies are included. Do you guys like to get a little sneak of what's in store? Because we do have the first Poppy Club exclusive coming up real soon.
Very soon, yes.
And what do you think, David? Should we kind of show people a little? It's not the whole thing,
It's
but a
not
little.
the whole thing, but
No
it's
photos.
And yeah, no. Again, this is not shareable for you on the live stream. No, not shareable. Not shareable. But before we show it, do you want to kind of just talk about the inspiration behind
Sure.
this?
Well, let me say that this is a lot of times people ask for a reproduction of a doll or something that is inspired by a doll that's happened in the past. And so this is probably one of the most requested dolls, but it is not a reproduction of it, but it is probably the closest I will ever give it to you. So,
All right, so
with that
sneak
said,
peek, and this is only part of it. What you all been asking for?
yeah.
Just saying. So,
Yeah, so this is our closest to Bergdorf without being Bergdorf for you, okay? So, and this is only one part of this
item.
item,
And then we've got another
So-
doll as well. So,
yeah. And then we have another whole club doll after this, so.
all right,
good.
very good. Jessy, coming to you. Let's talk a little bit about what's ahead for your line. So let's start with New Face.
Okay, so I'm a little bit of a slacker. I don't have a little preview for you guys. So
It's all in Jessy's
it's all in my
mind.
head. For New Face, I think I'm going to concentrate more on personal style of each character, and so the wardrobe, it's going to be like more of just inspired by like who they are as a person. Because I'm very into observing people like in New York, just walking around. I'm like, oh, I like her outfit, so I really want to take that idea and have it be concentrated on that.
Okay, very good.
And I kind of went like a little crazy this year, so I'm just like, okay. let's
This,
go in a
this
different-
year you went a little crazy.
Really?
I'm like a little like action reaction kind of thing.
Action reaction. What does that mean, Jessy?
So sometimes I go one way, and then I decide, okay, I'm not feeling that anymore, so I go the opposite.
Okay, so you're just like completely on the
Yeah.
other, each side of the spectrum, nothing in the middle for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and that's all you're going to share with us.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And what about for fashion royalty?
For fashion royalty, right now I'm feeling more of a mix of nostalgia and futurism. So those are the elements that are gonna.
Nostalgia and futurism. Are you guys sensing a theme here?
A little bit. So that's where I'm at with that for FR. And so the looks.
Anything else you want to give us there?
No, I'm gonna make you guys wait.
And we obviously have some club dolls ahead. Any sort of hints you want to drop there?
No.
No. What do you got? Do you want some?
No, I'm
kind
kidding.
of-
One of the ones that I have planned is a continuation of the Sacred Lotus collection. So that's gonna be, yeah.
And
That's my hint.
And that's the one that's coming next, right?
Yeah, and then the after one is like just opulent.
Okay,
And
so
that's-
Sacred Lotus and Opulence ahead from
Yeah.
Jessy for club exclusives. Very exciting. All right, so Vaughn, obviously you unveiled the Monarchs yesterday, and not necessarily everyone in this room got a chance to see that, but super exciting and lots of great feedback. We're going to repeat a few of the questions that we talked about yesterday. So in terms of the face sculpts, can you revisit that? What's going to happen with the different sculpts and how they're going to
There
be used?
will be some old sculpts that will, make their way into the line. There will be some like older sculpts that will be refreshed, which I mean they're going to be redone. And yeah, there's going to also be like some brand new sculpts added as well.
Right, and we already discussed that the different bodies are going to be used differently
Yeah.
in the different lines. Somebody asked, can we get male twins?
Actually, that has been something that I have been thinking about. But yeah, I'm still in the back of my mind, but
No, you can't use Lilith and Eden. Their heads won't
no,
fit on the
no,
bottom.
no, I know. But it is something that I did think about.
Very cool. Alain, we get lots and lots of requests for accessories. You do an amazing job with those. Any plans on furniture, luggage, trunks, anything like that? Is that things that you guys want?
Well, I already have something that I'm planning for the upgrade dolls for 2019, like another diorama. That's going to be, it's in the works though. It may not be with the upgrade dolls. There's only 24 hours in a day. I am working on it. I'm pushing to get it done in time for registration, but definitely in 2019 I got that. And yes, I have been looking at furniture. I found some really amazing stuff, so that's one of the things I plan on keeping my eyes on when we go to China. So, never say never.
Questions about dealers. Obviously, one of the amazing things about the club is that we have people literally from everywhere around the globe. So for the people who are in Europe and Australia, New Zealand, where it's harder to get things shipped, any thoughts about creating a distribution center in Europe or dealers in some of these areas to help to cut down on shipping costs?
Well, as you guys know, there's already 3 dealers in Europe, and we have adjusted quantities this year. The 3 dealers that we have in Europe, one in the Netherlands, one in France, and the other one in Germany, we've increased our quantities a little bit. With that said, our products are still limited edition. So like as much as we would love for everyone, it would kind of defeat the purpose of the collection of like putting product, tons of product everywhere. So your best bet is to stick to the club. Keep ordering directly from us, and you never know. Like we may increase, like there is always going to be shifts in the way things are being distributed, but we also look at how, like the demographics of where everyone is on the planet and where the demand is. So if it makes sense for us to eventually, like if we start getting like a ton of demand, let's say in Asia, we'll certainly consider it. But like we also, I know where you live really well. So like, and there's also like.
Don't worry, he's generally harmless.
Yes, generally. But there's also realistically, like there's shipping restrictions for us to send stuff in bulk. I mean, I've looked at distributing in Russia. I've looked at distributing in China. And it's not easy. Like it's very, very difficult to get products from America shipped. Even if we considered shipping directly from the factory to those distributors, there's like a lot of, like for Europe, there's VATs involved. It's so hard. And with us being located, it's not that we don't love our international customers. Believe me, we love you guys. If I could speak every single one of your languages and answer each of you in your own language, believe me, I would. But it's realistically, it is what it is. We're doing our best to get the product out there.
That's great. And then I think in terms of, before we wrap it up, conventions. So we've talked a little bit about some of the shifts that are coming. We've had some requests for conventions in the East, New York or New Jersey specifically. You want to talk a little bit about how you pick convention locations?
Yes. So basically, there's something called unions, and a lot of hotels have unions on board. So if we try to go to certain states that have these unions at the hotels, the price of the convention ticket, believe me when I say, would be $700, $800 just to get in, and then your room rate would be $250 a night.
Your parking would be $69 a night.
If you've traveled to all of these places, and there's also the constraint of, there's a lot of you, there's sort of a, I don't want to say like a ceiling, but like I think this size convention is perfect for the size of our team. So we need a ballroom that can accommodate. So like for example, in New York City, there aren't a lot of really big hotels with this kind of setup, with like where we can do the store, we can do the ballroom. This is all stuff that we have to look into. Wherever we're going has to fit our show at the proper price that we know is affordable. Like we're trying to keep the convention as affordable as possible, obviously, and everything is going up. Like the price of food is going up, every cost. Like you guys know this. So that's part of like when we're shopping around for hotels. Like we try to do East Coast, West Coast, Central. We try to move it around to get us close to as many of you as possible. But realistically, there's some states that just aren't in the cards. Like we can't. It would be way too expensive.
Yeah, and that's why if you notice when we've done Chicago, we've never done it downtown. It's always been, in one of the suburbs or by the airports because the cost of doing it downtown, we've looked into it, is just completely cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
And so something like New York City is challenging.
Yeah, because the split right now is about 40% of you are international for us as our customer base, and 60% are Americans. So we also have to keep in mind that that 40% that's flying in from out of the country needs to have easy access to an airport. Some of the smaller cities that would be absolutely gorgeous for us to take the convention to are not very easy to get to airport-wise. So that's the other consideration. The price of plane tickets would go like that, and you'd have to do multiple stops. So those are all the things that are part of of what we look at, not just me, but the entire team. We look at all of these things when we pick a city. Is it easy to get to? Is it affordable? Can you guys afford it? I mean, do you really want to be spending money on a hotel room? Wouldn't you rather be putting it on the dolls, which makes more sense?
Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
All right, so we're about to wrap. I'm going to give you guys all a chance to have some parting words to the collector. So, David, we'll start with you.
Well, once again, thank you all so much for being here, and thanks for all the support and all the puppy love yesterday was great. And I know a lot of people were happy with the Style Lab, so that makes me happy too. I'm glad that everyone liked that, and so thank you very much.
Jessy.
I just want to say thanks for everybody's enthusiasm. Everybody that has approached me has been super nice. I'm loving seeing all the faces I know from online and everything like that, so thank you.
Chris.
I love coming to convention because I love getting to talk to you all, and it's so much fun, and I love hearing your opinions on Victoire, the new Victoire, all the stuff, so thank you so much. I love coming, and thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
Vaughn.
Like everyone else said, thank you for the support. Thank you for your enthusiasm. We appreciate it more than you can know. And, we just hope to see you come back and, get to know you all a little bit more every year. And, we just look forward to meeting everyone and having a good time.
Alain.
Well, none of this would be possible without you guys, obviously. And I know sometimes you guys go, why did they do this way? Or why did they do that way? I think we've proven time and again that we do listen to you guys. And if there is any question, any problems, we come through for you guys. So it's really important that if you have feedback, don't stop. Send your emails to the W Club. If we will listen to you, we do listen to you, and whenever possible, we address everything. And I know Carol and I are, oh my God, they said this. Oh my God, we got to do something about it. So it's part of our personalities. So if you're unhappy, we'll fix it. But thank you for being here and being with us. That's all I have.
And I will just add, I love you guys. You're the best. Thanks so much for being club members, and we will keep working our hardest for you. So thank you so much. And a big round of applause to the designers. And I am going to dismiss the designers except for Jessy. Jessy, you're in detention to stay after school.
You're in trouble.
Later, y'all.
Bye.
All right. So Jessy, obviously this is a new face event, and you designed our illustrious centerpiece. Do you want to give us really quickly your inspiration behind her?
Yeah, so the inspiration behind her is a little bit of a 80s glam dynasty, but a little Donatella, a little Draco Malfoy action going on with her too, as I've been joking. So yeah, I just wanted something that, to me, when I think of Luxe Life, that's I just go back to that kind of aesthetic.
So 80s dynasty power, but modern with a little Harry Potter thrown in.
More fashion, high fashion, yeah.
Okay, very good. So we're not quite done yet. Obviously, one of the things that we like to do at the W Club is make sure everybody gets as many dolls as possible. So we have another giveaway for you guys. And before we unveil that, do you want to give your inspiration for that?
The inspiration for that is the same. It's a continuation of what you see in front of you on the table, but it's just the opposite of her.
Oh, okay. So you want to know what your gift for the afternoon is? Can I get a drum roll?
Eden.
And I'm not sure if everyone can see Jessy, but do you want to mention something about her hair color?
Her hair color is a baby pink, so it's a blended color with blonde and pink to give a really soft.
A little blonde and pink.
A little blonde
so
and pink.
Little
And she's
something
sun-kissed
different.
skin tone as well as Lilith.
Because you can't have Lilith without
Yeah.
Eden. All right, so with that, quick announcement, just a reminder, if you were one of the 20 people who bought your ticket for menswear at the door and haven't given us your name, come see us at table 4. Otherwise, go under the tables, get your Edens. Thank you, W Club members,
Bye.
and we'll see you tonight for the gala. Goodbye.